Aloha, this is Megan Conway, and this is my video portfolio for the University of Hawaii at Manoa Online Teaching Award nomination for 2013. My course is Disability Studies 683. Introduction, who I am, and why I teach online. First of all, I would like to explain why I have numerous cartoons throughout this presentation. For my courses, I like to inject some humor into the discussion because most of the time we're discussing topics that are difficult to discuss, including disability and diversity issues. I also ensure to include captions for all of the visual images that I provide in my course. And this is to accommodate students who are blind or visually impaired, but also to allow flexibility for students who may be having technical problems on a particular day and need to just call in and aren't able to use a computer. The cartoon on this page is an image of a blind Superman led by a guide dog. This is an image of the main page of my Laulima platform, which is the asynchronous platform that I use for my online teaching. I'm an assistant professor of disability studies and education. I've been teaching online courses since 2007 when I transitioned from in-person to the online format for the Disability and Diversity Studies program. I'm also a person with a disability. I have a combined hearing and visual impairment. I teach online because I found that with careful attention to course design, online teaching increases accessibility for me and many of my students. It broadens the types of students that are served and the kinds of materials that I can use to reach them, and forces me to be creative and innovative. Learning and interaction goals and outcomes. Goals and objectives, active learning and engagement. The image is a cartoon image of people with disabilities holding a sign that reads, "Nothing about us without us." Here's an image of the syllabus on my Laulima site. The course goals are to develop an understanding about issues individuals with disabilities encounter in today's society, and provide information about the lives of individuals with disabilities and perceptions of impairment, policies and legislation, diversity issues, advocacy issues, service provision issues, and educational issues. The course objectives are many, but three of the most important are: 1. To describe past and current trends about disability, 2. Understand various perceptions about disability, and 3. Demonstrate increased understanding about issues affecting individuals with disabilities, including individuals and groups who are culturally and linguistically diverse. I encourage active learning and engagement across many aspects of my course, but two important features are: 1, to have a universal design for instruction and access statement on my syllabus. The goal is to address access needs sooner rather than later, to make the course accessible for all of the learners in my class, and encourage students to contact me with their support needs. This is an image of the Blackboard Collaborate session. I use both Blackboard Collaborate and Laulima, which are synchronous and asynchronous platforms respectively, because I want to capitalize on the strengths of both. Blackboard for live interaction and presentation of key points, and Laulima for flexibility and organization of course materials. Points of interest and teaching innovation. Course structure and tools. Here's a cartoon image of various animals and a man saying, "For a fair selection, everyone has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree." Here's an image of the assignment section, which lists some of the topics on my Laulima platform. For both structure and tools, I follow the principles of universal design for instruction, including using multiple means of engagement, representation, and expression. For engagement, I use a combination of synchronous and asynchronous tools, as I discussed in the previous slide. This allows for both engagement and flexibility. For representation, I provide lectures, discussion, readings, videos, and the visual arts. For expression, my students have live discussion via voice or chat, weekly discussion board topics, group presentations, individual presentations, and an academic paper. Accessibility and learner support, diverse learners, and online supports. Here's a cartoon image of 3 greyhounds and a small dog on long prosthetic legs, The caption reads, "For the first time in the Paralympics, the Greyhounds look worried." Here's an image of the resources site on my LaLima platform, and this includes some PowerPoints that explain to students how to navigate some of the online aspects of the course. The goal of my course is for student diversity to enhance the course rather than present barriers. I want to address the needs of students with disabilities, older adults, English language learners, a mixture of cultures and geographic backgrounds and locations, and a variety of skill levels and a variety of access modes to the internet and the use of technology. For online supports, and this is the image of the notes page in my resources section. All of the materials used in the course, including the syllabus, PowerPoints, videos, resources, discussion questions, etc., are posted on LaLima well ahead of time. Materials are in multiple formats or easily converted formats. All videos are captioned. I maximize the use of online readings and resources, and notes and recordings for each collaborative session are posted online quickly. And here's an image of the notes which are taken for every session. I describe all PowerPoints and read aloud discussion postings. Allow flexibility for how students can participate, for example, voice, live chat, or asynchronous chat. And I design for flexibility. I'm prepared to make alterations or accommodations as needed. Evidence of effectiveness with students: engagement, assessment, and feedback, interaction, and rapport. Is a cartoon image of a man praying and saying, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" Here's an image of the discussion board on my LaLima site. I always allow time for discussion during live class, and I have prompting questions throughout. Students give each other feedback, respond to each other's postings, both in class, which is optional, and on the discussion board, which is required. No one assignment or component for the class compromises a majority of the points. I give equal weight to presentations, research papers, weekly assignments, class preparation, and class participation. So if student struggles with one component, they can still succeed in the course. I give consistent feedback. I respond each week to student posts, and I give feedback on projects during the planning stage, as well as after they've completed the project. Here's an image of a Blackboard Illuminate session on newspaper headlines. For interaction and rapport, I share my own experiences with disability, and I encourage students to share theirs, whether it's with disability itself or related experiences and issues, such as issues of stigma. I encourage students to present their opinions and respectfully disagree with other opinions. I let students know when I disagree as a means of teaching them, but I'm careful to respect their differences in background and prior knowledge. Students are encouraged to meet individually with me via the most convenient method for them, whether it's via Collaborate, Skype, phone, or in person. Course learning materials design, course content design, and content coverage accuracy and currency. Here's a cartoon image of 3 men on horseback in the desert looking at an empty wheelchair. The caption reads, "Don't worry, he won't get far on foot." Here's an image of a PowerPoint that I use for media and disability. In terms of course content design, it's a balance of visual appeal and simplicity. I use scaffolding to build up student skills. For example, I make sure that they know how to find and cite a reference and identify a thesis statement in preparation for the research paper. But I also use scaffolding in terms of content. I start with topics that students can easily relate to, such as stigma and culture, and move on to more complex topics, such as ethics and sexuality. I use a lot of multimedia, especially video, to demonstrate disability history, the disability rights movement, disability culture, and multiculturalism. Here's an image from one of the assignments postings in LaLima. For accuracy, coverage, and currency, I use foundation books, but also a wide range of online materials that are current. For example, current journal articles, videos, personal essays, and current regulations that have to do with disability and civil rights. I bring in speakers from all over the world with all kinds of backgrounds and disabilities, such as a deafblind African American woman who runs a Bronx Center for Independent Living, a sociologist from Taiwan, and an art historian with traumatic brain injury from North Carolina. Plans for sustainability: course development, course maintenance. Here's an image of two cowboys in wheelchairs. One man points a gun at the other and says, "This town ain't accessible enough for the both of us." Because of the synchronous element of the course, some of my students may have, or prospective students, may have schedule conflicts or are in different time zones, and they find it difficult to take the course when we have the synchronous sessions. So one of my plans for development is to add an asynchronous course component as an option for students who may be in different time zones, particularly international students, but at the same time maintain the engagement that I find is particularly strong with the synchronous format. In terms of maintenance, the online platform makes it easy to update, sustain, and share with other instructors. Each semester I do review the course content and design and update as needed. But it's also easy to change course elements mid-semester if an important new resource becomes available or the students appear to need extra information or support in a certain area. End of presentation. Thank you.